Welcome back, everyone, to the third episode of Petty Talk. What a milestone. What a milestone.
Yes, indeed, sir. It is a milestone. There was, I didn't know if we were going to make it this far.
The fans demanded it.
Some. Did you see that there has been someone who has disliked every single video on YouTube? I think I know who it is, too.
Haters back off. Just one person?
Just one person.
Oh, well. Right now, the petty people, the petty army, whatever you want to call our supporters, right now, they outweigh the trolls from Mordor.
That's right. The dozens upon dozens of people that listen to this podcast.
There are tens and tens
of dozens. Them. No, we actually did pretty well. I think we had like 500 listeners this month on both, between the two. And there's a lot more people listening on the podcast part versus the YouTube part now.
That's amazing when you think of like addressing a room of 500 people.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
A lot of Pepes.
So, welcome back.
Coffee
I am
good?
Coffee.
Cheers.
Irish coffee. Thank you, sir. Welcome back to episode 3. I'm your host, Simon Petty, and this is your other host, Alexander Petty.
I did the intro. Thank you very much.
I know, but I didn't do my signature, this is your host, this is your other host.
Should I just leave that to you in the future? We'll see. We're going to get this down, folks. Just bear with us.
This is how traditions are made.
They evolve, and you get to witness that.
Speaking of traditions, how was Thanksgiving for you?
Nice. One of my favorite things about this time of year is the seasons. I think science has proven that fall and winter are the best seasons ever. So
science proved that?
In the science of my mind. The weather is cool. Remember, we're in Texas, so summer is long and unforgiving. So then fall finally gets here, and you have all the colors of the leaves. You have the cool weather. You have the holidays. Halloween is just fun to observe all the kids running around in costumes. Thanksgiving is nice, and you just have Christmas ahead. And I don't know, everything just seems more magical and sentimental, for lack of better adjectives. They're just great. What's your favorite season?
The season of Christmas, for sure.
Oh, and another thing is the hot things taste better. So like hot tea, curry, soups. Oh, all the stuff I love to cook.
Curry's not really something I think about when it comes to Christmas.
Well, I mean, with the cooler weather.
Right. To where it's 75 instead of 100 outside. But yeah, no, it's been good, man. You know, actually this Thanksgiving is a lot better than the last Thanksgiving I had. So, I know you know this story.
No.
But
no. Brace yourselves.
Oh, that's good. Okay, so last year I went to my first ever Friendsgiving.
Which, when I first heard about Friendsgivings, I thought that's a great idea.
Seems
like,
nice.
You move to a new city, you know, your family is back home. You can't make it. Mom, I can't make it maybe next year. Mm-hmm. You get together with your friends.
Right.
So, 20 to 30 people, awesome potluck.
Yeah, there's a lot to be thankful for. It just seems like a nice thing. And you don't have to do it on Thanksgiving. It can just be like your Friendsgiving.
Whenever the schedule allows.
Just adding to the magicalness of the season, as as you put it. So, so last year, this young lady named, but for this story, we're going to call her Anne. Anne. Just because, one, that's her middle name, but also because just when you think it gets worse, there's but wait, and this happened. So this was actually somebody that you know as well.
Yes.
And somebody that, Well, to be honest, this was the first person I went out with after my wife left. So, you know, the season is Thanksgiving and it's Christmas and the New Year's upon us with, you know, hope and wonder and about the future and all the excitements that go on in that time of thing.
So she invited you to a Friendsgiving?
A Friendsgiving. I'm like, word, you know, that sounds really nice. You know, I've been kind of down. I need something to be thankful for. I need something to lift my spirits a little bit. So we go to this Friendsgiving, and so what was going to happen was the first maybe hour or two, it's just going to be me, Anne, and then this couple that's hosting us, you know. And then 2 hours later or whatever, we're going to have the actual party. There's going to be people over. There's going to be music. There's going to be games, whatever, right? So, mistake number one, just for people who are out there, we took Anne's car. We didn't.
Oh no! There was no. Remember Vietnam? There was no exit strategy.
Which we've
Rookie.
totally learned from that mistake.
Rookie mistake. So it was just you and her car. So there was no escape.
And there was no escape.
You didn't drive separately. Okay.
I mean, there is Uber, but
well, that's true. That's true.
But I actually don't have that app downloaded, so I'd have to download it and like.
You'd have to go to the bathroom for a long time.
Yeah.
Okay, so mistake number one.
You know, and we're
no
on
exit.
the way. You know, we're listening to Christmas music. We're getting fancy
So
and
far,
festive.
everything is good. You
I'm
get
wearing
there.
a sweater.
Oh, he's wearing a sweater. J.C. Penney's over here.
So we do all that, and then you know, we arrive. It's a nice little house. It's a nice little couple. Just it was very double date-ish, which is like, okay, all right, okay. And then so this part, it's crazy to me. Okay, so we go inside and we start talking to them, and I'm looking. They have like mashed potatoes, yams, Brussels sprouts. They have potatoes, just about anything you could ever want, right? But I'm noticing a lack of protein. And it turns out this is a vegetarian Thanksgiving.
No.
Which I'm already pissed because it's like, you know, this goes against everything that the Indians would have wanted, the pale-faced pilgrims would have wanted. Like, nobody wants this, right? It's kind of like, you know, Christmas without Santa Claus.
So they were vegetarian in their lifestyle. They were vegetarian. That's what this.
Yeah,
that's
and
why.
like the annoying vegetarians, right?
So
So they were telling me about how,
healthy it is.
oh, my skin is so much clearer because I don't
right.
eat, you know.
So you
salmon.
realized basically there's going to be no turkey or no ham.
Right, but I'm still trying to be good, you know? Like, Santa's still watching. I'm still
Right.
trying to be all, oh, well, that's
You're
okay.
trying to be thankful.
I am. It's tough, though. It's tough. I mean, you know,
Mildly disappointing.
mildly.
So did they have tofu instead?
They had tofurkey or tofuki. What's the
Tofuki.
what's the thing where it's the turkey but it's tofu? Turkey?
Tofurkey?
I don't know. The more we say it, none of it sounds right.
Right.
So
So you sit down. But so did they start serving food?
yeah, so everything
at
was
this-
already ready.
At this point, though, when they're serving food, are you going, hey, wait a minute. Where is everyone else?
Well, it was already described to me that it was going to be just the four of us. And then,
So there was going to be some party an hour afterwards. whatever.
yes, if you had been listening. And so,
Well, I thought it sounded like y'all were going to get there early and just chit chat, and then everyone was.
no, we were going to get there early and feast on turkey
But alas.
and spiral ham.
But the company was good, though, at least.
The company was fine. You know, okay, so the chick was just talking nonstop. She's like, all right, fine. So me and Ann are sitting there, and I don't know these people. I don't know these people from Adam, as old people would say. And then this chick who had hosted us,
and whom you didn't know,
I've known for 5 minutes, turns to me and was like, hey, you're the one divorced, right? Getting divorced? What? Tell me about that. And so I was just like, I looked over at Anne, and she's just like so embarrassed, and is just like got her fork and just stirring the tofurkey into the mashed potatoes, by the way, that were not potatoes, which makes it even worse. It was the cauliflower mashed potatoes.
Cauliflower. I've heard
Dude,
about that. Yeah.
Just stop. So she's like, tell me about that. What's that? What's that all about?
Oh my gosh.
I don't know these people. I've known these people for 5 minutes, which is not something you would say. 5 minutes in, you wouldn't be like, oh, your mom just died, didn't she?
It's like her man pulled her aside.
How did she go? Did she go silently?
Fastest one to embarrass the guests gets to take the car for the weekend.
I know, and it was the weirdest thing because Ann didn't say anything. And then this dude was just like, ooh, you could tell that like he was like upset, or was like a little like conscious about it, but you could tell he's been in way too many arguments with this chick, and it's just like, well,
he's like, oh, let this one. He's like, you gotta take one for the team.
He's like, you're on your own on this one. And then I was like, but I didn't know what to do because so remember, all that stuff about my marriage was still fresh, and I was just like, man, this is kind of crazy. I was so taken aback and so surprised by it.
She actually asked
that I didn't know what to do. Like now I would have been like, hey, that's none of your business, right? But at that moment I was just like, and I didn't drive myself. I'm not going to storm out
right
5 minutes in, but I was trying to be my best and be like, well, yeah, I was divorced, and blah 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 blah. And so she's like, oh yeah, wait, what was her name? Her name's right. And then I just like look at her, and then I look over at Anne, and she is just like as red as her hair at this point, which is pretty red.
Jeez.
And so then this chick across the table from me, we're 7 minutes in. 7 minutes in to, our budding friendship on Friendsgiving. And she's like, all right. And then she looks her up on Instagram and is just like, oh man, look at that. She's super fit. Look at this. Oh, did you see this one? And starts showing me photos of my ex-wife, like sticking her workout butt out to one side, And I was just like, at that point, I was like, all right, you know what? I don't feel comfortable with this situation. That's
She's basically saying, all right, new topic.
Like, when is Christmas getting here? So yeah, it was just like, man, this is 7 minutes into this, and I don't know if I can last the next 4 hours or however long we're supposed to be.
Boy, that is straight out of The Office.
Yeah, that's some Michael Scott stuff right there. So that's why I don't have friends. That's my Friendsgiving story.
Wow. Always be socially aware, children, whether you are the guest or the hostess.
Yeah. That whole situation, now I'm thankful that Ann and I aren't together. That's something you could be thankful for. And I'm just because, you inherit those friends. You inherit whoever their family is. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's something to be said for the social circle, I guess, of a life partner.
Dude, that's putting it mildly. Are you kidding me? Dude, Ann, at 4 weeks in, was like, hey, if you asked me right now, I would marry you. And I was like, I don't think that's a good idea. That's it's a little rough right now. So obviously that didn't work out.
Wow.
Yeah, so that ended, and then Like 3 weeks later, 4 weeks later, she's engaged to like a dude that's got a kid, stuff like that. And, you know, living her Thanksgiving.
You missed your chance.
I did. The one that got away. But you gotta appreciate a young lady who knows what she wants in life. I mean, most of the time they don't even know where they want to go out to eat.
You got to know when to hold them and know when to fold them. Well, what a crazy Thanksgiving that was.
Yeah.
That like hurts me vicariously, and I wasn't even there. I feel that pain.
Why though? Is it because of the social, just unaware oblivion that the chick was in? Was it just? Let's unpack that a little bit. What makes Alexander tick?
I think I just. I'm not sure, but I think there's something in me that makes me empathetically feel what others are going through. Sometimes I have a hard time tapping into people's feelings because I'm very like, I guess, reason oriented or thinking oriented. Like there's the two sides. There's critical thinking and facts and reasoning, and then there's like feelings and emotion, and like both those things are good, and both those things have their time and place, and sometimes you got to emphasize one of the other, or you got to mix them. But despite my inability to tap into people's feelings sometimes, when I hear about the situations, there's like this seizing of muscles in my heart. That's like, if I remember back, this is 10 years ago now, someone was introducing me to The Office as it was coming out. And this was when, children, you ordered DVDs in the mail from Netflix. And Netflix would literally mail you the DVDs.
Or you could go to Blockbuster.
But they would and which Blockbuster refused Netflix. They were like, no one's going to do the whole streaming thing. Well, anyway, but they were showing me, they're like, oh, look at this, isn't this cool? And I was watching, 1 or 2 of the episodes from the first season, and I was just like, like it became so unique, I guess, for its awkward humor. But I think there's like this hump you have to get over for the first season, or getting used to it. It's like this whole idea. It's like, well, you're not laughing at them. It's more that they're experiencing that horrible situation, and they're looking at the camera, or they're looking at you, and it's that moment in your life when you wanted someone to look at and be like, is this really happening right now? Am I really experiencing this?
Yeah. Jeez. That's kind of how I felt. But my philosophy on all that is kind of, if it doesn't do permanent damage, then you end up with good story.
Yeah, and it's good to be able to laugh at yourself or laugh at a situation. Well, now I feel like all my Thanksgivings have been amazing and glorious in comparison.
Well, good. I'm glad you feel that way. I'm glad that my pain can make you aware of how good you have it. No, but it was just interesting. It was that feels like it was 10 years ago, because there's just been so much that's happened in my life. And
it was only a year ago.
It was only a year ago. That's crazy.
A lot's happened to you in the last year.
Yeah.
Holding up okay?
Oh, yeah.
He, for Sober October, which we touched on a little bit last time, but he was a beast. Working out like every day, basically. Really strict diet.
I don't know if that was healthy.
Yeah, sometimes too extreme can be unhealthy, but
yeah.
I think you've been striking a really good balance, especially all things considered.
All things considered. It's weird not going over to a in-laws for Thanksgiving. I'm down to one Thanksgiving these days. And I don't know. I feel like I'm not getting the value I used to get out of it.
2 Thanksgiving meals.
Yeah. But no, that whole thing about friends and you don't know whoever you're with, especially if you get with someone who you don't have mutual friends, it gets really weird really fast. So I was with a friend of mine not too long ago. I can't say who or where or what, but it was just kind of a dinner situation. my favorite. And so I was kind of at the end of the table, and I was talking to several of the friends, and it was just, man. I mean, I have really good friends. They're very interesting people. They do interesting things.
They would do good stuff for you.
Yeah, and I was just like talking to these people, and it was just like there was nothing there. There was nothing there. It was like all they did.
Like no, you mean no positive emotion, or do you mean no smarts, or what? What do you mean?
No, they were. It's not like they couldn't carry on a conversation. It's not like they weren't smart. It was just the most interesting thing they had ever done was graduate high school.
Were they young?
They're like 25. But before I get like ahead of myself, I don't mean you need to go to college. There's some boring people that go to college. What I mean is you should be doing something else.
Other than just existing and coasting through life, you mean?
This was their life. Monday through Friday, they went to an office job that they didn't like at all. And then Saturday and Sunday, they would like watch Netflix, which is like fine. I like Netflix, and you got to work a job that you got to work a job at. But it's like you don't collect anything. You don't have any skills. You
Hobbies.
don't have. They just. It blew their mind that I was a pianist, which is like fine. You don't meet a lot of pianists, whatever. But it's like something like you don't have, like you don't do any art. They're like, nah. I'm like, you don't work on anything, any projects? No. I'm like, you don't even have a kid. Like, there's nothing that you're doing.
Oh, and so not even any family.
Right. Like being a mom, that's a crazy thing, that I can't even imagine being.
Right.
And that's interesting in its own self. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So you're not saying you have to be a Renaissance man. You just have to be, it's probably healthy and in your best interest to be doing something.
And it doesn't have to entertain me.
Right. It doesn't have to click.
Tell
with
me
you.
about your stamp collection. That's still a thing.
Yeah.
That's still a thing. And there's people who do that, which is kind of crazy. But you know what I mean? Like all my friends they're either really into jiu-jitsu, they're really into fitness, they're professional touring musicians, they teach dance, they're entrepreneurs, something besides it's
Just
either
existing.
it's either in their job, their career, or they do it on the weekends. I mean, even if you're a mechanic or something.
Sure. Yeah, I understand that some people.
And I'm not trying to say I'm awesome. I'm just saying you need to do something with your life.
No, I think you're right. I think that's in your best interest. I understand that everyone will have different ambitions, and some people, let's take the average Joe who's like, you know what, I just like managing this restaurant. That's all I've ever wanted to do, and it just makes me happy to entertain people. Like that's still investing in something, because he's doing
absolutely, and that's a passion.
Or like, let's say,
I think it's because they didn't have a passion. Not to cut you off, but they didn't have a passion.
Yeah.
They didn't care about their job. All they did was drink on the weekends and talk about how horrible their job was till they got back to their horrible job.
Right.
Or they were just like, I kind of like this show on Netflix.
There was no fire.
There was no fire.
Yeah. Or just, I think the thing is, so if say someone just is not very ambitious and that's all they want to do, if you start investing in something, whether it's managing a restaurant, whether it's raising a family, whether it's something academic, whether it's something artsy, you then get these richer experiences that you wouldn't have otherwise. You get to watch your kid graduate from high school, or you get to share some new scientific discovery, or you get to put up some sort of online art store. I remember not having a lot of funds to go do a lot of stuff, but I remember playing a piano piece in the middle of the night and just really, really getting lost in it, really, really enjoying it. And that's just a small investment because it was just sort of a little bit of lessons each week over years, and it was just so much more rich than anything that you could pick up within 5 minutes. Because a lot of media, like movies or games, which I'm not anti-movie or anti-game, I think they're awesome in moderation, like everything else. But a lot of those things are designed to be accessible. So
Right.
Halo 5 or whatever it is, you can pick up the game and learn the controls, and it's designed to be accessible And there are people who like take it to the extreme, competing or whatever. But
Right.
usually those things, those experiences, whether you become whether it's like a parent who's been raising someone for years and years and seeing that kid grow, or an artist painting for years, or a scientist, or a tradesperson, you know, there are some experiences that can only be experienced
Right.
via 10 years of investment, and it's when it all finally comes to fruition, it's an unparalleled feeling. It's like an unparalleled catharsis. So I think you're right. I think people should invest in something, and
Yeah.
I think you're really right in making a distinction of, it doesn't have to entertain us. It's more just like find your passion, I guess.
Yeah. Enrich your own life. And
Enrich your own life, and then because of that, you end up enriching the lives of others.
Right.
Because you have something to offer them that's rich.
Yeah. And I think that's it, because for me, it doesn't have to even manifest to anything. For instance, if I wasn't a musician for a living, I would still be a musician. Like, I can't not be a musician.
Right.
I can't not be a pianist.
It's not even, you're saying there's not even some sort of concrete measuring stick, like, oh, it has to generate this much dollars, or it has to be this high of a level of mastery.
Right. I mean, if they took, toothpicks and made art out of it, that's still enriching their lives. They may not be able to sell it, and I may not be interested, but it's still a passion. And I think the weird thing was, there was like 5 of them that I was talking to, and none of them had any hobbies or any art that they did or any mastery of anything, which is fine. Again, I don't want to sound like the guy who's just like, well, my friends
snob.
are better than you or whatever. But it's just like, I talk to my friends and they're like, oh, I just had a pro jiu-jitsu fight, or yeah, I just went on tour and played for this thousands of people, or I painted a picture for me that I'm gonna hang up in my hallway or something.
Well, it
just made me thankful. So all you friends, all 5 of you, cheers to you.
No, I agree. It's a good thing to enrich your life, and in so doing, you enrich your own life, but also the people around you. You make yourself better, and the people around you benefit from that.
And that's what Thanksgiving, more so Friendsgiving, means to me.
That's what it's really all about, children. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe you can comment on the video, because I'd really love to hear what your country's stereotype is of people who just coast through life. But here in Texas, again, it's probably not more than any other state or any other place in the country. These people are probably all around the world: China, India, Africa.
I don't know about
Europe.
China.
I don't know, but I do know there are these certain types of people who just coast through life. And I'm reminded of the Benjamin Franklin quote where he says, basically, a man can die at 25 but live to be 70. And it's just basically, they're just coasting through life. They're not exploring.
And that guy figured out electricity with bad math.
With bad math. Oh man, interesting character, Ben Franklin.
That's right. One of my favorite things to do to people our age even is be like, I think Benjamin Franklin was my favorite president. And it's shocking.
No.
It is shocking how many people are like, yeah. Because he's on money. He's just one of those old people that was a founding father or something. Right. Maybe he had a mouse as a friend or whatever, and then he just was like, I'm a president.
When I was younger, I was much more interested in European history, Renaissance, ancient period, medieval, Victorian, you name it. But yeah, as I've grown older, I've really come to appreciate the history of our own country, and that time period is pretty fascinating. Still not a fan of the musical, though. Sorry, Hamilton fans.
I can't say. That's one of those things, man. If I was to say, which I like it, but if I was to say I didn't, there were so many people that would hate me right now.
They would stone you.
It's just like you can't say you hate Miles Davis, right? You just can't.
I don't. Well, it just depends on your social circle.
in my very educated, very
Oh.
very passionate friends.
A true aristocrat.
Yeah. All right. Well, it's time for your favorite segment ever.
Which is?
Newsflash. You're so professional.
All right. Strap
Okay.
yourselves in.
All right. There's so much happening. You know, it's like
There is.
100 years ago, you didn't know what your neighbor was doing that would lived 15 miles away.
Oh, man. Okay. Well, I mean, I guess we are all connected.
For better or
more
for
than ever
worse.
before. All right. In recent news, our feedback and everything's still looking good.
I think so.
All right. In recent news,
Oh, yeah, it's looking real good.
how many people have to die before we're done with gender reveals? Sadly, this is not a hypothetical question. At least one human life has already been lost as a direct result of the widespread obsession with turning the sex of one's unborn child into an explosive, often literally, spectacle. In October, an Iowa woman was killed when her family inadvertently built a pipe bomb as part of their gender reveal party.
Inadvertently? From what I read about this story, it sounded pretty on purpose.
A gathering at which expectant parents dramatically and colorfully announced the sex of their baby. The methods for doing so seem to have started out as benign, if stereotypical. Cutting into a cake to reveal either blue or pink frosting, say. But in the past couple of years, some kind of communal madness has taken hold, and many of these feats of gender performance have gotten more elaborate, more public, and more dangerous, putting lives and entire ecosystems at risk. Last year, a father-to-be started a 47,000-acre wildfire in Arizona when he shot a rifle at an explosive target full of blue powder. It's a boy! Causing $8.2 million worth of damage. The latest instance of gender reveal gone wildly wrong involved a plane that stalled and crashed while crop dusting a Texas field with 350 gallons of pink water in honor of an unborn female child. No one was killed in either incident, but someone easily could have been. Other gender reveal related explosions and one reveal involving an alligator have also placed people in harm's way.
Wow.
A new life is a joyful thing, worthy of celebration, but there is something to be said for an unscripted joy that doesn't kill anyone.
Yeah, because that pipe bomb exploded and shrapnel hit that lady. Here's the thing, too. It wasn't the mom of the child. It was just one of the friends of the family.
That what? Built
That
the thing?
that got hit and killed.
Oh my gosh.
So you're going to have to live the rest of your life knowing
Ugh.
because you were born, someone got killed.
Oh, you mean the child? Well, it's not your fault if someone does something stupid before you're born. But yeah, that might result depending on how you found out, that would result in some psychological trauma.
I hate all of that. Okay, so before there was the whole gender reveal thing, that's just gotten out of control. It's all over my Instagram, so stop. Before that, there was the whole, and this is still kind of big, but the proposal thing
Oh yeah,
is just
some-
unreal.
You won't believe how this man rented an entire, formation of blimps to spell out "Will you marry?" Whatever. Like how...
You don't need a marching band to ask somebody to marry you. You know what I mean? Like,
Oh
it's
my
just gotten
gosh.
so Instagram-y, and then it's like, well, my friend, his fiance spent $10,000 asking her, he mailed in 5 million roses and then decorated the whole house, and then It's just so much pressure on dudes that
What's
we don't need because we already die like 10 years before women. And this is why.
what what personality type are you friends with someone who you think, oh yeah, they would do that? What personality type? What's going on? And I'm not like, if no one gets hurt and they want to rent a marching band or whatever it is, then fine, do whatever you want with your money and your time, etc. But so I'm not. So if no one gets hurt, like I'm not even judging it. But I'm just wondering what factors lead to that, and then what's that personality type where they're like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna rent. You know, we're gonna crop dust, Martha. We're gonna crop dust 350 gallons of pink water. We're gonna crop dust our Texas field because it's a girl. You know, going back to the gender reveal thing.
You know what this
Who
goes back to?
Who does that?
You know what? I think it's...
Is it rich people trying to outcompete with each other?
No.
The helicopter parents?
No. Here's the first mistake. Engagement rings.
Ring pop.
We're always going to be able to fit ring pop into...
every episode.
The next 10 episodes. Up to episode 10, we're going to fit ring pop in there. But no, for real though. You know... Before there was Instagram, before there were even photos, people have been showing off engagement rings. I don't know if that's a fact, but it sounds really good to me. And it's just gotten to that point to where it's like, well, my friend's got this big of a ring. I want to bring at least as big as hers. And then, you know what I mean?
You have to keep raising the stakes to say.
Yeah. And it's just,
but
we've always done that. Oh, that guy's got a pyramid? My pyramid's going to be even bigger.
Right. Dating back thousands of years. The one-upmanship, if you will.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think it's part of that. And I think it's also, it's just like people have to make it about them. You just can't just be like happy that you're going to spend the rest of your life with that person. You have to peacock to everybody else about how much your man loves you or woman. We're progressive on this podcast. And so, you know, it's always just the next thing. And it's always just like, oh, well, you know, I tell you, I'm not trying to blast anybody, but, you know, I got some criticism about how I proposed to my ex-wife from her.
Ooh.
Red flag number 578.
Yikes.
But, you know, hindsight's 2020. So I'm just saying, you know, I think half of it is the man's expected to do that. And I think the other half of it is women want to show how much they're loved. Like, there's nothing more annoying than one of your friends getting engaged.
What?
Dude, you know how many people I've unfollowed on Facebook just because they got engaged?
No. A lot?
Thousands.
Well, see,
I don't want to look at 80 pictures for the next way more than 80 of like, you know, and it's all those photos of them like looking away from each other, and it's in this perfect field, and then it's like
she has a floppy hat
like,
on,
kind of holding each other's arms, you know, but looking away. Right. And then, you know, there's that one, and then there's just you just know it's like you see the same 12 different photos from all your friends.
I can't help but wonder,
and then they have a kid, and then I unfollow them again till that kid's born.
I obviously wonder, you know, social media is going to... It's funny because social media doesn't just exist on its own and it just documents humans, but, you know, I think this is a good example of how we are changing our behavior based on there being a social media. Because basically, maybe some of these incidents would have still happened. Maybe. But I'm guessing a big majority would not have happened. Like, as in, there's a reason this was not a thing 50 years ago.
Exactly.
If you couldn't video it and then share it, you know, immortalize it forever on YouTube or on Facebook or whatever.
Could you imagine how different the world would be if you couldn't take a photo? Like, for some reason, the physics just didn't add up.
Like, permanently, forever? Like, you couldn't do it?
Yeah, like, no matter how advanced our technology got, we just, for some reason, couldn't capture the light, you know? And there would be so many things that we just wouldn't do, you know, that they used to just not do. That's all I'm saying. You know, we get it. Y'all are in love. All right? But you're not that in love. All
I
right.
just can't get over the father starting the 47,000 acre wildfire in Arizona when he shot a rifle at an explosive target full of
Was
blue
that
powder.
Arizona or was that is that
Was
Texas?
Arizona.
What did we do?
Texas was the crop dusting one.
Oh, that's right.
Can you imagine getting over here? I imagine like all these redneck neighbors. Oh, Jeff, get over here! You gotta see this. And they're all like running over and throwing their hats in the air, going, "Yeah, woohoo, yippee!" And like this plane is flying over the village, and the pilot's leaning out of the window, waving to everyone. It's like someone like Homer or whatever. And there's like this pink crop dust.
All the cotton looks like roses.
Oh my gosh. Oh. And that's the one that stalled and crashed.
Oh man.
But he was okay.
Because he jumped out with his red parachute.
His pink. I don't know. But I guess he got a little too ambitious. Did a few too many loop-de-loops.
All right, what else you got?
All right.
I'm tired of people being happy.
All right. Yes. I have one more for us today. Now, I will say, despite all of our headlines we've been doing, because for all the many times we've done this show, this is
all three of them.
That's right. This is probably the fattest thing I've ever heard. KFC is using drones to deliver its chicken in China.
You mean innovative? That's some Elon Musk stuff right there.
Fast food giant KFC is delivering its finger-licking good chicken by an autonomous drone system. KFC has teamed up with Chinese tech company Antwork to bring drone delivery to the people of China. Drone delivery in China is nothing new, with various companies already delivering food.
Why do they get that? First off, that seems like something Japan would do. They're all into robots, like hardcore.
I don't know.
Just KFC?
Previously, Antwork worked with Starbucks, delivering coffee to more than 10,000 people while completing around 9,000 drone deliveries. Antwork also worked with China Post to lower delivery costs and shorten delivery time to just 15 minutes, while also delivering medical supplies from Zhejiang Provincial Blood Center to affiliated hospitals. Wow.
All that robot stuff is just crazy, dude.
That, can you imagine? Okay, right now, if I was like, "Hey, can we take a break? I want some KFC," and then
Finger looking good.
You're like throwing on your jacket. You're like, so we're gonna have to get on the freeway. Is there one close by? I'm like, no, Simon, please take a seat. And you're like, oh, so there's an Uber driver bringing it to us, or there's like what's that app where you they're like in the blue tuxedos, they grab stuff for you.
Blue tuxedos. I don't know. There's Postmates.
There's what?
That's one of them is called Postmates.
Okay, well, yeah, they like, so you say, "I want this food," and they
Right.
drive it to your doorstep. So you're thinking, someone's gonna drive to our doorstep.
They're already automating that part of it too.
You're sitting on your doorstep, and all of a sudden I'm like, "Look to the skies." Noise again.
I hope they I hope they like drop it off and it's in this parachute and it slowly comes down, you know?
Like Looney Tunes
Like
style.
like like you're on an island and they're like dropping in food.
And then you open it up, and it's a steaming bucket of KFC chicken.
Man, that sounds so good right now.
Can you believe that? You like sort through it. It's got the sides. What if, obviously 100 years ago there weren't.
You don't have to tip them, do you?
You tip the drone, it sticks out its little hand. It's like, please.
If it doesn't, it'll
I have a
spit
wife.
oil in your next
That's right.
in your next delivery.
I have a wife and 4 dronelets.
Dronelets.
So I imagine 100 years ago there weren't this huge volume of traffic, all these cars going in and out of DFW. So now it's like, as people at the end of their lives, there are all these cars. So for us, when we're like grandpa and grandmas, will we just look up and see this just steady line of drones like in, approved
Flying,
traffic airway patterns, like flying in
Star
lanes in the
Wars.
sky,
Yeah.
and be like, yeah, when we were kids, there's just this clear, beautiful sky. I mean, you might see an airplane every once in a while, but now you look up and there's just. Could you imagine that if like you didn't just get to look up and just see the clear sky? If there's just tons and tons of lines of drones flying everywhere, that would be enough to make you move to the country.
Yeah, but you know how fast you would get used to that?
Yeah.
Do you
yeah, of
remember
course.
how when we were kids, it was weird to see someone on a cell phone?
Yes.
I mean, not unheard of.
But
There was newspaper articles about how weird it is that cell phones are being used in parks and you're not experiencing nature.
Well, that was a big no-no. That was basically an agreed upon big no-no
Yeah,
for
that
someone to
kinda
talk
was.
for someone to talk in a restaurant on a phone. Like that was literally I remember seeing comics like jokes about that and then basically someone on the phone in a restaurant was painted as the rude guy. Like why on earth would you why would you be on the phone?
Right, when there's people.
Yeah, and like you're talking, but you're talking to someone else who's not there. And then it's really interesting because speaking of The Office earlier, Ryan, the temp character, comes back from his stint away at corporate. And when he gets back, he walks into the door and Pam, the secretary, says hi to him. And he's like, hold on one moment. And he's finishing a text. And
Oh, that's supposed to be funny.
it goes back and forth between them for several minutes. And the secretary's looking at the camera like, oh my gosh, this is so rude. He doesn't even know. And the guy's like, yeah, just a minute. Let me go ahead and message this guy real quick.
On his BlackBerry.
Yeah, on his BlackBerry, and he's typing with his thumbs. And then finally he's like, hey, how are you doing? And it's supposed to be like this whole like 10-second gag of like, oh, look how snobby and rude he is
Right.
now that he's back from. And now
And now that's just a
that's
date
like
on a Tuesday night.
Yeah, that's no big deal for someone to be like, oh, let me message this guy real quick. And like everyone understands because they're like, oh yeah, it's work or it might be, date.
That's so bizarre, man.
Well, and that was 10 years ago. I think literally, I'm not sure. I got lambasted. I got called out by my good sister-in-law because she's like, that Luby shooting you said was 50 years ago. It was actually only 30 years ago. So,
You were halfway there.
mea culpa. The quality and the standards have just gone down.
In 2 episodes.
It didn't take long.
Gee.
We're already jumping the shark.
I saw a video of one of those robots, that they make over in Boston or whatever, Boston Robotics or whatever.
Those
Already
are,
creepy, right?
Those are free. I think
How
it's,
fast they can run,
Boston Dynamics,
something like that.
Yeah.
And I don't know how real this video was, but there was one shooting a gun.
Oh no, that one's fake.
Is it?
Yeah, but the thing
For
is,
now.
yeah, I mean, they could make them do that in a heartbeat because they're already. If you haven't seen this, I suggest you look it up. It is really interesting, really fascinating. But these robots are walking around with boxes like they're at an Amazon working facility, and the workers or the people working on these robots will even like stick out hockey sticks to like trip the robots,
Or
then
push them over?
Then the robots will autocorrect. Or
Yeah.
they'll knock the box out of the hands, and then the robot will track it and pick it back up again.
Have you
It
seen-
is it's like the montage at the beginning of those science fiction movies. They're like, at first they were our servants. We taught them how to work, but they learned too fast, and there were too many of them.
Dude, we're so dumb.
It's-
How many movies can we make about this and be like, well, this seems like a good idea?
Well, and this is really interesting to me because there's the obvious like clear mathematical formula type problems that robots have to solve that they got really good at kind of, I mean, to me really quick, but obviously it took decades of research. But with chess, you like program them. It took them longer to figure out the game of Go where you're placing the beads because it's a bit more abstract. Or with calculating numbers, it's like, well, okay, I understand that, but I really feel like in the next generation we're going to see all these robots become better at the arts,
Yeah.
and in a way that's directly competing against humans. So I think there'll be more robots that generate paintings and especially with once they hook up like neurological research and they see what's most pleasing to people's eyes, they'll be able to use all that data of millions of people to create really, really beautiful paintings.
Then we're all gonna have boring friends because the robots are doing all the art.
Robots are doing everything. I mean, it'll be even card flourishing, which, something I've been really interested in. There are people basically doing notation system devices, and they're going to feed it into a computer, give it hands eventually, and then make the hands come up with moves arbitrarily.
That's true. But you know what else is going to happen? They're going to just like stab the thing in the back of your head, and they're going to program a skill into your brain.
And
then you'll be able to play Chopin better than I did in college.
And then
which isn't that good.
the whole like master apprentice relationship, which was so idealized in like Star Wars and whatever. Yeah, like whatever novels or whatever popular sort of literature. That's going to be like this romantic thing of the past where like, oh, you would... No, I mean, look at what we do. Like 40...
Dude, any robot could do this right
40
now.
piano students?
Oh,
no. Like 40 piano students, they're going to, 100 or 200 years from now, they'll be like, you would like go and you would see another human to like learn the skill. And, they would give you a little feedback and you would play
for years.
For years, you would have to work on this. And like, you would bring holiday presents to your teacher. Because remember, these are humans. Like you'd say, oh, happy Halloween. It'll like seem so bizarre and so foreign. Crazy. We're getting into a little futurology here.
I know. So happy for the holidays.
Who knows where it'll all go? Hopefully not a dystopian nuclear war with the machines.
Man, dude. Well,
on that note,
that's bumming me out, man, a little bit. But it's all good. I'll be dead. All right. So now we're going to get to questions and advice.
I know we had someone asking about rock and roll.
That's right. Rock and roll.
And if we liked it?
So the question is, do you like rock and roll? What's your favorite bands? What kind of rock did you listen to? This is from Greg. Growing up. So what about you first? And don't give us the whole history of rock and roll. Just answer the question.
Growing up, I was surrounded by a lot of 18th century hymns, a lot of quote unquote sacred music. For maybe the first...
What do you mean, quote unquote, sacred music? That is sacred music.
Yeah, I mean, like hymns, sacred music, choir stuff, very religious.
Southern gospel.
Southern gospel. For the first 13 years, maybe. And then, as I started watching more movies, I got to hear some more of that in the background. And then by the time I got to college, though, I was really interested in orchestral music. Currently I love a good single, whether it's no matter what the genre. It's like, oh, it's a really cool rock song, it's a really cool classical, it's a really cool rap, it's a really cool soundtrack, whatever it is. But no, I don't really even know that much about rock. I have like this precursory little skim. I know the big band names like Led Zeppelin, Aerosmith, but I don't know a lot. It's especially because I didn't really grow up listening to it. Obviously, you can find some good examples of like really talented musicians, because every once in a while someone show me, oh, look at this cool lead guitar solo, and they're just like on the electric guitar or a drummer going crazy.
Right.
But yeah, so I don't really have anything to add. And of course I heard, you hear like the early rock where they're like, basically it's a Southern gospel choir where they're like, rockin' and roll, rockin' and roll. Right.
Where it's basically just the blues with an electric guitar.
Yeah.
That sounds garbage.
There was one final note. This was really interesting to me is, by the time I finally heard, so coming out of that background and just growing up with that, by the time I finally heard some music, it sounded too comical. Some of the old classical rock sounded too comical to be taken seriously.
Right.
And I'm not talking about the old stuff, like really, really old stuff like Beach Boys necessarily. Get this. I think I only saw it once, but what's the opening track that they have for the Iron Man movie where it's like da 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 da.
Are you talking about 1 or 2? I mean, that's AC/DC.
Okay, AC/DC.
Yeah.
I heard that, and it, to me, because of watching Jim Henson movies as a kid, it sounded like a Muppet singing.
Really?
Oh. Seriously, that's like
what about Shoot to Thrill?
that's like the image I had. No, that same thing. It sounds
Really?
like it sounds like a Muppet to me because I watched Jim Henson movies first before I heard that type of music. Doesn't he sound like a monster or like animal or that Muppet animal or like one of the Muppets?
No.
Yes, where he's like all like up high with his voice. Yeah, wow. I can't even
That
imitate
is the
it.
weirdest connection.
It
You
sounds
hear
so,
the Muppets when you hear
yes,
AC/DC?
it sounds so goofy because his voice is all up high
Oh,
and it's like he's got
man.
this really weird the way he shapes his vowels. I think
Well,
like
sorry.
it's sort of whipped and jerky. Yep, that's what I think. But that's just a good example of how someone introduced to something years later might not necessarily have a good connect. So you're back in the day, decades earlier, when you buy that vinyl and that's what you hear first as a kid. You're like, this is so awesome. This is rock, and it's just this awesome thing in your life. But if you're introduced to it 2 decades after, 3 decades after, whatever it is, you might be like, oh, this reminds me of something else that came after that. There's like this abstract connection.
I guess, man. Dude, I can't believe you don't like AC/DC.
Well, it's not that I don't.
I was literally listening to them yesterday.
I'm sure you could find 1 or 2 songs that I was like, oh, this is a cool song. It's not that I don't like AC/DC. It's just that voice, that's what that reminds me of.
Yeah.
Can't you listen? Will we get copyright strike if we pull that up?
Yeah.
Maybe we can mute it as we listen to it.
No,
What's the
that'd
name
be
of
fine.
that song?
Which one? Back in Black?
Is that what it is, where it's the opening?
Well, I mean, that was like such an iconic time.
All right.
It was like when men dressed as women and then sang about the devil.
Oh, I mean, there's
That's real music for you.
right. There's an old again. If you pull up the right song, I'd probably be like, oh, that is such a cool song that gets you going. There's like an old school cool factor, sure. But all right, let's listen. We can like mute this part if we need to. This
So
is Back in Black.
Somebody doesn't have YouTube Premium. Oh, dude, put that up.
Copyright strike though. Okay, see, like this
That's
intro.
so good.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's awesome. But I'm gonna skip ahead a little.
Oh, dude, that is so killing. That is so killing.
That sounds like some '80s Jim Henson Muppets.
No, man. What you need to do is you need to have your windows rolled down, crank that baby up, and just go like 60, because I down the
no
freeway.
more than 60, but no less. All right, well,
That's so crazy.
So shifting to you, I suppose that you like rock.
I do. So same background as Alex. I was in high school when I found out who AC/DC was.
Yeah, we were just so kind of
'Cause, like, Rob Zombie-
homeschooled, and also just listening to whatever your parents introduced you to. So it was just
Because we would go to the
mostly religious
symphony.
music.
It was religious
Yeah,
music
so
and it was
religious
symphony,
and
which
classical.
is awesome.
Mom would listen to classical on the radio. She would
101.1 was
Yeah.
the classical. They would always do the March of the Day, and it would be
Right.
some Sousa.
She would listen to pop a little bit way earlier on. I have really early memories of that. And then, you know, they'd also like they'd bring home a James Taylor CD or whatever. So like there's a little bit of folk. Like it wasn't like we were stuck on an Amish commune, but so yeah,
Wow.
so you get into late high school and there it is, right?
Yeah, I mean, I would listen to the oldies, which kind of introduced me to Beach Boys, which I was really into for a little bit.
He would, I don't know if any of y'all know this about him, but he would play those licks, those lines on a guitar he got for
That
Christmas.
was so bad. It was so hard. It was so hard.
I think a lot of people have experienced that. Like, oh, I'm gonna play
I was
guitar.
gonna be a rock star.
But that like a beach, their number, Beach Boys number, I gotta dance. I remember him playing on the guitar that lick at the beginning. Do 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 do.
Yeah, but it was like do 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 do. And you know what the most frustrating thing was? I was like 12 or 13. I was already playing Mozart, like
Right,
full
so
blown
on
Mozart.
piano. You were
And it
great.
was so frustrating because I think if I was just like not into piano, I think it would have been more. But I was just like, oh, I know so much about music. I know how much I suck right now, type of
Yeah,
thing.
You got to become a beginner all over again.
It's the worst. So I was into that, and
Beach Boys and the Beatles.
yeah, I got super in college. I got super, super, super into Rage Against the Machine. Because when you're 19, 18 years old and you're going to a seminary and you've got Rage Against the Machine just blaring, oh, you feel like a rebel. Oh, yeah, feel just like, you get that leather jacket on and you're cruising. Like,
The bleach tips.
oh man, this makes me want to join a gang or something.
Oh my god.
Street race. I'm not part of this establishment.
And then actually, this will be a really interesting point of how, like, potentially it's introduced to each generation, but probably during that same time, college, you were introduced to a lot of different rock singles via Guitar Hero.
Yeah.
Who remembers that game? And crazy.
Oh.
When it first came out, it was huge. And of course, eventually, and so many different platforms and companies started
Yeah.
trying to make their own version of it.
So for anybody who doesn't know what that is, it's a video game that goes with you have this like little plastic guitar thing, and there's different buttons you press, and you have to line it up with what's on the screen, and it was so addicting. It was
addicting. It was
really
oddly
fun.
satisfying.
It was really fun. You felt accomplished, which was terrible because it got to the point where I was practicing that almost as much as I was doing piano. So I would play it for like 3 or 4 hours, and then I was playing piano for like 3 or 4 hours because I was still in high school.
Yeah, you could just do, if you had the day free, you could just do what
yeah.
you want. Yeah.
It was bad. I had to stop because I was like, you know what? I need to get better at piano, and I'm not going to get a career doing Guitar Hero. And then, so yeah, it was a lot of Rage Against the Machine, some Rob Zombie, some AC/DC, which does not sound like Muppets. Can you get? I want to look up a song. So there is. I've been getting into screamo a lot.
No, come back to the light.
Yeah, I love it. What are your thoughts on screamo?
I haven't listened to that much, so that'll probably tell you what. And again, I mean, it's so this. I'm really wondering what this person is thinking of when they're saying rock, and it's so funny because it's so all encompassing. I mean, sometimes when I've been cleaning the kitchen, I'll like put on Freddie Mercury.
Oh, yeah.
Don't stop me now. I'm dancing around the kitchen like cleaning dishes and stuff. Don't stop me. Don't stop me. I mean, like We Will Rock You, in a way, that anthem is like, it's rock, but
Yeah.
there's just so much into that.
But that
term.
goes to everything because it's like
Right. Classical is hundreds of
rock
years.
and rock and roll is very different. I mean, think about Elvis.
Oh my! Now that's going way back.
I cannot stand Elvis. There was this chick at church that I went to. Her name is Vivian, and she had,
An Elvis collection.
I would say, a shrine at this point,
What?
which is very, non-Baptist, but she was nuts for a lot of ways. But she just that was her favorite. She would have like life-size posters of Elvis and like calling him the king and blah 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 blah.
How old was she?
I think she was a few years younger than me.
That is wild. Because I'm
Yeah.
thinking, you hear about that collection and you're automatically thinking, okay, someone in their 60s at least.
Older than that,
Well, yeah, now, golly, I guess so.
because I mean he was 50s.
Yeah, I think so.
You know, he was pre-Beatles, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
Not that I'm like a huge.
Which, okay, it's interesting. Whenever you're like, man, Elvis Presley, I hate it. What was going on? Why? How did he ever get famous?
Right.
But one of the exercises I tell my music students when we're talking about different periods is, okay, you don't understand why the Beatles are good? I want you to listen to everything pre-Beatles for a month. Now,
Right.
I mean, they don't have to literally do it, but it's like, if you had to sit and listen to country music from the 40s and 50s for a whole month, and then all of a sudden I turn on like Paperback Writer or something like the Beatles, where it's like do 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 do,
Yeah.
Day Tripper.
Because everything before that was all doo ba da ba doo ba doo ba da ba doo da.
Right?
It's all
Cab
dance bands
Cab Calloway.
that your parents listened to.
Right. Oh,
that you
yeah.
didn't wanna
So
listen
then, so yeah, the boy band of their day. I
Yeah.
mean, but yeah, if you submerge, just like how if you submerge yourself in like Bach or something for like a long, long, long time, and then you go Beethoven, you're like, whoa! Like
Yeah.
the symphony seems so dynamic and so new and so powerful.
Yeah.
Versus like listening to it right after Katy Perry
Right.
or whatever.
I mean, we had a professor that told us
All right, go ahead.
that told us it's impossible for us to hear it the way that they heard it because
sure.
you know it's just a different context.
Can you
and-
imagine listening to Mozart? And it's like, whoa, this is the new kid on the block. Oh man, old people hate him. This is gonna be.
Yeah, the contemporary music, cutting
No,
edge.
I thought you were gonna say there was this one professor who we'll call Professor Joe, and he was like, yeah, I remember, buying up all these records and just being like, this is gonna be such a great resource for teaching because I'll be able to pull out an album and I'll be able to just put a record player on and. Man, now everything's all streamed. People were just pulling it up on their phones to listen to it
Yeah.
in class or whatever it was. But
That guy was a mess.
what's the song you went to?
So this is from a video game, and I've been listening to a lot of like screamo, but this one in particular was probably like my first introduction to like really hard rock. And so whenever I hear this one and it comes on my playlist, I always have like 2 more reps. If I'm just like bench pressing my 35 pounds and I'm just like, ugh, and then I hear this come on, I'm just like, ugh. Dude, this thing right here. Dude, you can't say this isn't awesome.
Very cool. Very
Yeah. Oh,
cool. Yeah,
that's real music, folks. Coming from a classically trained musician with a degree.
It is. Sometimes there are just musicians who are objectively bad, and you're like, they don't know their instrument, they can't sing on their key or sing on key. But once you get to genres,
Jazz is the best.
jazz is the best. I don't know about that, but it's kind of like pick and choose what you want, and you can find talented musicians in all of them. You can find things to appreciate. So that right there, it's more driving and commanding. I mean, it's commanding in a way that Bach will never be, right? But Bach has elements that
Has
they will
perfect
never-
harmony.
Yeah, that they will never have. So
Absolutely
it's
perfect
always kind
harmony.
of like a what are you looking for, and what you don't go to a rock show expecting opera, and you don't go to opera expecting a rock show.
Yeah, and there's that, and then there's also you just don't know. Sometimes you don't know what to listen for. And that can be
Yeah,
education.
definitely.
That can be cultural. It can be all sorts of things. Because, to me, rap and hip hop and stuff, it just sounds good, and I know what to listen for. But there's people.
And you can say that because you have a music composition degree. You're not a poser.
Right, yeah,
I
yeah.
just know what to listen for. It just sounded.
I'm so trained. It's just in tuned. No, it's just, and then people who might be, not familiar with that background in music may just not even say it's music at all, which I've been in that conversation many times. But it's the same thing for me and, Chinese monks doing their meditative songs. I don't understand what's going on, and I don't know what to listen for.
Like the throat singing stuff where they're like
That, like the Tibetan throat singing is cool, but there's some just chants and stuff. I don't know what they're saying. Literally, I don't know. They're not using the same.
they're not emphasizing the same things at all.
No,
Yeah.
and some don't even use like the same notes. I don't want to get too bogged down into it, but it's just, sometimes it's cultural, sometimes it's not. So
Yeah, like if you look up gamelan, there's like this Indonesian, kind of like Southeast Asian group playing where they memorize the song. So it's no sheet music, it's all from memory, but they're all playing these different size bells. And there's no traditional Western like harmonic chord progression. So rock or even Beethoven or whatever it is will go from a C chord to an A minor chord to a G chord, whatever it is. But in that, I guess, medium of music, they're not focused on chord progression. So if you're looking for that, you're going to be like disappointed, like, whoa. But if you kind of zone out and you just let the swirl of sound take you wherever it wants to take you, or like do whatever it wants, it's a different experience than being led by the hand by Handel, from one chord to the other.
yeah, I mean, not only like harmonically, but rhythmically too. I mean, we have a very set rhythmic pattern that we follow in a lot of things. But anyways, let's not get too bogged down into that.
That might be.
That was a good question, though.
It was a good question, and we might have to maybe give topics for our questions. Like for this next episode, ask us a music question, or ask us a martial arts question, or ask us a relationship question.
Speaking of, that's our next one. I love giving back. So, this question is from Brooke. How do I get my boyfriend to pull out the ring?
Ring pop.
Wow. This one's big. We can't mess this one up. And I'm glad you asked, because I happen to be an expert in this category. I have been proposed to twice by two different women, and they both had rings.
They had the rings?
They did.
Are you joking me?
No, which is kind of weird because
they had a man's ring?
Yeah, which is kind of weird because we didn't go ring shopping, and I couldn't like pick it out. But yeah, it was very interesting. Two different young ladies that I was seeing.
Not at the same time.
Not at the same time. No. But yeah, it was very romantic. I appreciated it.
What's this lady's name?
Which one?
No, the one who asked the question.
Brooke.
Miss Brooke, it is very hard to give specific advice for not knowing the scenario.
No. We got you. I know exactly what.
No.
This is what happens. All right. So,
wait, so who's going first on this?
I've got this. You may not even need to. My advice is so good on this. So, So I've been proposed to twice. Dude, everyone wants to marry me for a little bit.
I believe.
Those two young ladies that
he is a catch.
Anne, who after just a couple of weeks knew that I was the one. God told her. And then, they usually wise up though. After a few weeks or
a few
years of marriage, they decide to cut loose. So here's what you got to do. I was thinking about this question because I read it and I was like, man, what can we do? So I was trying to be scientific about it because you're a man of science and reason.
No, I'm not a man of science.
and I'm not a man of reason. So I think, but I've been working on this. Okay, so here's the two places that they proposed to me. One was at that Walmart in Hewlin, by the Lubies.
You are joking me.
No, and then the second one,
But they had a ring.
yeah,
So there was like thought put into this, but then they didn't consider the location. Walmart, and then where else?
Parks Mall.
Oof.
I only date the classiest of broads. But here's the thing that we had in common, because I was like, what are the similarities? How can we help? You know? But then I realized they were both in parking lots.
Oh no.
Yes. So here's what you got to do. I don't know if you can drive a stick shift or not, but you got to get your man in as many parking lots as you can. So this is what you got to do. You need to be like, hey,
Oh, it's so
awful.
No.
She's got to do it. You know, she's on it. She's ready. So what you got to do is you got to be like, hey, I don't know how to drive a stick shift, which you may or may not. And then you just got to go to those parking lots
To practice.
you know, and then you're just going through the motions, you're shifting, you know, and then you switch out, and you just got to get that parking lot exposure. Just drive around in the car, and I'll bet you my left lug nut that given enough time, he'll get the hint. Because men are really, really good at taking hints from women. They're just the best.
All right.
So there you go. Do you have anything to add to that, or did I pretty much just nail it?
Well, Miss Brooke, sadly, this is a very interesting theme in literature. Sadly,
I'm sorry, go ahead.
we cannot make someone love us or make someone want to spend the rest of their lives with us. So I assume you're asking this because maybe the feelings are not reciprocal, but also, too, does your boyfriend know that you want to get married?
Have you been to enough parking lots?
Expectations unannounced are a big problem in relationships, just from what little I've seen. Expectations unannounced. Someone does something that bugs us and we don't say anything for a long time, and finally just we implode. So first of all, does he know that this is where you want to go with this? Or if you've been dating for years and years and years and you've always hinted at marriage, but he's never said anything, the writing might be on the wall. I mean, I'm not going to tell you definitively to just give him an ultimatum or propose to him or to leave or whatever.
That's always an option.
Is it though? Technically it is.
I did say no to both of them, but I thought that was pretty progressive.
Right. But you have to look in your mind's eye and do your best at trying to see where all of this is going. And if you are 100% committed to this person and want to spend the rest of your life with them, but they do not return those feelings, there's some trouble right there because you're not on the same page.
Yeah, I mean, who knows? I mean, these days, some couples just never get married.
That's true. That's true.
So
what is there? I guess really you have to ask yourself, what do you want? Maybe before we even start with what does he want? It's like, is there a time-sensitive thing? Is marriage like extremely, extremely important to you right now? Or are you still okay with the way things are? If you're okay with the way things are, then keep going. But if you're asking this question, you might not be, obviously.
Yeah.
Well, how do you want to change it? What change do you want to see?
Be the change that you want to be.
Right. So if you're
ask
like,
him.
Well, I want to get married. Well, does it have to be with him? Do you need to find someone else more enthusiastic about the proposition? Or maybe it does have to be with him. But again, I don't know. I don't know if those feelings are reciprocal. But you hear often the cliche, communication. I would make sure everyone knows where you stand as far as both parties in this relationship. And then if his response is still the same and you don't like it, you need to make whatever changes you deem necessary. And again, I'm not going to impose ultimatums or recommend specifics, but that's about as far as I can go. really give some thought to what you want. Make sure all parties are informed as to what you want, and then make your decision from there.
Yeah.
A well-informed decision is the best thing you can do in that scenario.
And you can't just give these vague clues. You know, men are just, we're not all Sherlocks here. You know?
Oh, well, I'm sure. I mean, I assume if she's putting it out there, then I assume
Yeah.
that he knows.
Oh, come on. How many times have you been with somebody and then you're just blindsided by something that, you know, could have been communicated?
Expectations unannounced.
I might be
So,
a little
yeah,
jaded by that, but
do go ahead and talk, and then make your informed decision.
yeah, get in those parking lots.
This is the night. It's a beautiful night.
You know, take them to a Friendsgiving, you know,
Oh,
just talk about things, you know, make sure he knows all your friends. Here's the real thing though. If you've been dating this person, you know, you should be able to communicate with them.
yeah.
There shouldn't be anybody in the world that you should communicate better with. You know, I know you got your women friends and all that stuff, and they you know, y'all talk about whatever women talk about, but you know, that should be the easiest person to talk about. And I know you're trying to like make sure they don't hate you, but
Yeah, whether you're trying
they'll find some reason to hate you.
whether you're trying to plan finances or whether you're talking about your feelings, whatever it is, you should be able to pour your heart out to that person
Yeah.
without fear of anything. You should just be able to talk to that person. And it's easy to say, and I know it's harder in real life, but yep, communication and some well-informed decisions. Good luck with that, Miss Brooke.
Yeah, and if you don't have anybody out there, just talk to yourself. Get some good practice. And by the way, if it happens, invite us to the wedding.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I actually don't really know who that is, by
If
the
it
way.
doesn't happen,
This could be a psychopath that
Simon is single. Right? Wait, are you dating anyone right now?
I might be seeing somebody.
All right.
You know, I might
Well-
be getting out there doing a little soft shoe.
Stay tuned, Miss Brooks. Stay
I know, I'll
tuned.
tell you this, I'm not like driving around any parking lots.
We're not talking
No.
Walmart level
No,
serious.
no. But yeah, I'm getting out there a little bit. I actually went on a date the other day. Yeah, it went really, really well. He was really, really nice and
Yeah, right.
no, I didn't know that we were on a date, but he really seemed like I didn't realize that until like halfway through.
He was like, "Hey, let's hang out, bro."
Well,
And then you were like, "Wait a minute, what's with the flowers?"
you know, I'm really bad at knowing when people like me or not, and
That
It
goes
wasn't-
for everyone.
I just thought
For
we were
all.
I just thought we were hanging out and having dinner, but it got real romantic really quickly.
He was like, "Surprise!"
But yeah. So anyway,
Is his name Brooke?
might be the middle name. Who knows?
You never know.
All right. So, so we had some interesting responses. We kind of had a little bit of we kind of had a little bit of a disagreement last time of would you go to jail for 1 year for $1 million, which just blows my mind that you wouldn't, by the way. Have you changed your position on that?
Would you want to be removed from my life for a year? Would you do that for $1 million so we don't get to hang out? What am I supposed to
Dude, I would do that for like 50 grand.
What am I supposed to tell the little Timmy in all of us when it's like, oh, yeah, Simon doesn't have time for us anymore for the next year?
Y'all wouldn't come visit?
I guess I would come visit. I'd be like, how's it going in there, bro?
Oh, great. We just had a Friendsgiving in here. I don't know. So anyway, our new question is, would you rather have no taste buds or be colorblind? Which this to me is, again, a no-brainer. What's your position first, though? No taste buds or colorblind?
That is tough.
Is it?
Yes, because both those things are really important to me. And I don't think you realize. I think I know what you're going to say. You're going to say you'd rather be I think you're gonna say you'd rather have no taste buds.
Bingo.
I knew it, but you.
Could you imagine though if you had no taste buds?
That's what I'm trying to point out to you. Do you realize how? So for the next 50 years, and you might not. You don't have to be a foodie to realize that for like the next 50 years, every single meal. It's so funny.
Colorblind though.
You could still I mean, you could survive and live a happy life and find other things to be psyched about, but I don't think we realize how much fun and interesting part of that of our lives that is. It's tied to the tradition, like Thanksgiving or Christmas, like eating a specific meal. And then
Yeah,
there's
but you
just the
see all
funness,
the time.
variety. But you do see all the time. Okay, so the other
We
side.
did have a friend in high school that
Oh yes.
tried to join what, National Guard?
He tried to
or
join.
reserves
I
or something like
believe
that?
it was he tried to join the Coast Guard,
Oh.
and this was Ian, the trombonist.
Yeah.
And they told him because he went to go try out for he did the test, the physical fitness, everything, and they're doing the check mark. They're looking at his paperwork, and he's like, "So am I in?" They're like, "Well, sir, your job prospects within the Corps are going to be limited because of your color blindness." And he goes, "What?" And they're like, because of your color blindness. He goes, "I'm not colorblind." And they're like, "Yes, you
Yeah,
are."
you are.
And he's like, "But I'm not." And they're like, "Yeah, you are." And so then he goes, "I'll prove it to you." He goes, "Give me the test again," because they had a vision test, like with all these things, physical fitness, written test, etc. They have a vision test. And they're like, "Okay." So they pull it up again, and he failed it again.
Oh my gosh, dude.
He did not know he was colorblind until
Which is kind of
high
weird.
school. Oh,
because
it's so
like
weird because then all of us in high school were walking around going,
freaking out, man.
like, my whole life is a lie.
And then even if you do see colors, like, when I look at green, is it the same that you see?
Right. Oh my gosh.
I kind
haven't-
of forgot about that.
I haven't thought about that in a while. But
See, he's fine,
is he? Is he doing okay?
I guess.
Ian, I hope you're doing okay out there, man. Sorry, forgive the laughing at your expense, but
Thank you for your service.
thank you for your service. It's probably he's gonna come back as some jacked guy and be just like,
Yeah.
um,
He may not have been defending the red, white, and blue, but
Oh, no!
he's defending the white, gray, and black.
White, gray, and black.
And that's not a racial thing. That was a colorblind joke. But
Right.
um,
Man, okay, I can't even believe that. Yeah, Ian, wherever you are, I hope you're doing well.
okay,
man.
so here's my
But-
side of it.
Okay.
Can you imagine if you had no taste buds? One, you would just save a lot of money because you'd just be like, all right, I'm going to eat a potato.
Oh my god.
Okay. So,
Oh my god.
so,
Oh my gosh.
so check this out. You come over to my house. You open my pantry.
There's just like 50
There's just
potatoes.
and then you open up the fridge. There's like different potatoes, and there's just potato juice.
Oh my gosh.
So,
Well, you'd still be
because you
able-
can live off of potato.
Yeah, but you'd still be able to enjoy and appreciate consistency. So, like a hot dog would
You know
have
how
like
many
a
different
spongy-
ways you can cook potatoes?
boil them, mash them, stick them in a stew.
So, and then, okay, so that's one thing. You're saving lots of money because potatoes, aren't that expensive.
There's not a good side to. You don't want to lose either.
No, I already gave you one. Here's another one. All right. So, okay, being rich and saving a lot of money is not good enough for Mr. Shakespeare over here. What about this? If you woke up in the morning and you had kale instead of like cereal.
Oh, so you're saying it would be easier to eat healthier?
Oh, kale, yeah.
Whoa.
Kale, yeah.
Okay, I have to admit.
So,
Well, first of all, you can find interesting recipes to incorporate healthy food. Like you can find really interesting and good tasting recipes, but that does take time.
It does.
Right? It's
money.
it's not as simple as boiling a bunch of
Oh my
potatoes
gosh.
and kale
I would
in
just
the
get some
morning.
kale and I get some water and then I would just wash them against my washboard abs that I would have from potato and kale, and then I would just eat it. Can you imagine having kale salad for breakfast? Well, I guess, I don't know. Does your wife do that? She's a nutritionist, but
Probably.
so I don't know. You'd be ripped. You'd have a lot of money. You didn't have to wonder, oh, what am I going to have today? Potatoes. Bam. 2 good reasons. There's no self-discipline.
And being
A Snickers is going to taste just as good as kale. I'd eat a bunch of carrots. My vision would be like, I'd be looking around. I could see everything.
I think
This is a no-brainer.
I
I'm so
think
smart.
okay, I think I would have to agree. I think I would have to do the same thing. And the reasoning is I've had some pretty good food and I feel like I've sampled the gamut, Like I've had sushi or I've had the really fancy meals, but I've also had the $1 hot dogs or whatever, the Texas State Fair type foods. Oh, this is deep fried cheesecake. If I had to stop registering all that from now till the death, it's like I would be okay with that. Like I got a good idea of what it was like, but the color, I feel like there's so many new experiences still with vision. Like, oh, a new movie comes out that you're really gonna like, or oh, let's go look at this museum.
Or a location. Like,
oh yeah, like in
know.
color,
Yeah.
Europe or China or wherever you want to travel, or see the world, so to speak. Yeah, it's just so. I think I have to agree, and there's something innate within us that treasures that particular sense. In the opening line of one of Aristotle's works, he talks about how everyone desires to know. Everyone wants to learn things. And the proof of that is in our senses. All people delight in their senses, and usually the one they treasure the most is sight. And that's the most informative one. Therefore, yeah, people want to learn, people want to know. And so, yeah, I think it'd be really demoralizing to just see paintings constantly be reminded, because you're not eating the whole time, but like you said earlier, you're seeing the whole time basically.
man,
so.
I would be looking at the Mona Lisa with my kale shake.
Cool
Just be
painting,
like,
bro. Sip. It's
You
funny.
can put everything though. You can get your coffee, put kale in it, put a mashed potatoes.
And then you're not affected. So it's like a superpower at that point.
I think it's actually an advantage.
Well,
You could be vegan. You could go vegetarian. Have a Thanksgiving.
a Friendsgiving, if you will. Well, there you go. Another mystery solved by Team Petty.
Wow. So leave a like and a comment below on what you would be. Would you be colorblind or would you be taste budless? How come there's not a word for that? There's just not enough people.
I don't know, but
I
now I want to look it up and see if it's. I assume it could be a real medical condition. And
Man, there's so many people out there. Everyone's got something.
man,
You know what I mean? So comment below what you would be, and also continue these questions. This was good. I feel like by this next episode, they're going to be married with kids. We've given back.
yeah,
Maybe grandkids.
Any type of question.
Not about us. I mean, you can about
us,
for sure.
or about yourself, relationships, or about your job. Job questions fascinate me. Like, should I leave this one for that one?
Or just a comment, and we will
Yeah,
talk about you. Maybe, unless you're boring.
we will. Topics of interest: music, cooking, martial arts, history, jazz, piano, whatever you think is good.
Yeah. Speaking of, I will be at I'll be playing at the Mansion on the 21st. I'll be playing at Lily's Bistro on December 6th. The Mansion is December, obviously. And then the Blue Crab, I will be playing the 14th and the 28th and probably the New Year's Eve at the Blue Crab. So do you have anything you want to plug? Any Ravenswood stuff? Cards?
Oh,
What's your Instagram account for people to go follow?
Our Instagram is the Ravenswood Academy. And really, you should follow the Facebook page, the Ravenswood Academy, because that's where we're kind of letting everyone know what we're updating. But the Instagram is fine too. And we just got in the Swordswoman playing cards, but those
which look so cool.
Yeah, we might have to talk about them next time. But really, those are already basically sold out, so you won't have, unless you got them early, you won't have an opportunity to get them. But some really interesting stories embedded in the deck, so perhaps next time.
Yeah. So go check that out and see what all the cool projects they have on that. And come see me play some music.
Then for Christmas and in the coming month, we've got some interesting and special things planned. So tune in then as well.
Oh, yes. All right. Thanks. Appreciate it. Love
Thanks
you
so
all.
much.
All right.
Petty Talk.